Oh, oh God. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Gabesty here. This is a normal quick raid guide for Norushen and Siege of Orgrimmar. And you can click on the annotations for tank, healer, DPS, mumble, and full guides if you'd like. So let's get started. So the main mechanic for this encounter is corruption. Everyone in the raid will start the fight with a bar of corruption at 75 out of 100. Now, corruption essentially lowers the damage that you deal to the amalgam of corruption, but does not have any effect on the damage you deal to anything else in the fight. So you'll do normal damage to all the adds, no matter what corruption level you're at. When a player reaches 0 corruption, if you are a tank or a healer, you will take less damage as a tank or do more healing as a healer. DPS simply do more damage to the amalgam of corruption, the lower their corruption gets. Now, to cleanse your corruption and reduce it, players will need to enter the trial, which starts by clicking on one of the golden Purifying light orbs, which you saw I just did a moment ago. This trial is similar to the Proving Grounds, which is just a solo, role-based trial that you have to complete, and upon doing so successfully, you'll clear a corruption. So here I'm a healer, so I fight a large corruption ad with the help of 3 NPCs, and when it dies, the trial is done, and my corruption is cleared, and I exit. For tank players, they have to survive their trial for a minute in duration, dodging a number of cone attacks and interrupting one of the big cast abilities that the mob will cast on them. And DPS players have to defeat 5 creatures in total, 4 essences and 1 manifestation. DPS players should focus on the manifestation first, kill that quickly, and then they can worry about the other 4 mobs after that. Once DPS players kill those mobs, they can step on the corpses to collect these little orbs that will reduce their corruption. After they step on enough of them and get to 0, they'll be ported out. Once any player has completed their trial, the Purifying Light golden orb that they use to enter will respawn outside and a new player can enter. So because of this, throughout the encounter, all 10 of your raid members should rotate through the trial at least one time to clear their corruption for later into the fight. Now, anytime a DPS player is doing their trial and they defeat one of the creatures inside, the creature will spawn outside and attack the raid and has to be dealt with again by the raid outside. So generally speaking, the manifestations will appear first if DPS kill them first, and these need to be picked up by a tank. When a manifestation dies, it will leave behind a corruption orb where it died. This orb will do massive raid-wide damage until any player steps on the orb, which will cause them to gain 25 corruption and get rid of it. So if a player does not have 100 corruption, they can freely step on the orb, soak it up, and get rid of this pulse of damage. The best thing to do to handle this is to have a player that has not yet reached or gone into their trial to step on the corruption orb and soak it up. So if you have not gone into your trial yet and a manifestation is out, you can call out to the raid, I'll step on this corruption orb, and when it dies, just pick it up. And then that way, when you go into your trial and reduce your corruption down to 0, you've gotten rid of that orb safely. The essence spawns, on the other hand, are much easier, but they're more frequent. When they appear, they'll cast bolts on the amalgam, and it's important that a raid member stands between the essence and the amalgam, or it will buff the amalgam and cause it to do a lot more damage to the raid. Otherwise, it's just up to DPS players to kill them off quickly once they appear, assuming there's no manifestation active. So if an essence spawns, just stand between it and the boss and kill it off when you can. Now, once everyone in the raid has completed their trial, or you're closing in on that point, you'll want to start thinking about pushing the amalgam into the lower 50% health and finishing the fight. So attacking the amalgam has a few things to watch for. The first is that spinning beam that you see there in the top right. This basically just spins around slowly and does heavy shadow damage to anyone that it touches. So obviously just avoid that whenever you can. When the Amalgam reaches 50% health, and every 10% health thereafter until he's dead, he will spawn an extra manifestation outside that the raid has to deal with. Therefore, in addition to one manifestation from every DPS trial that's completed, you'll get an extra manifestation, 5 in total, for every 10% health after 50. So, when these appear and are killed, once again, they'll leave behind those corruption orbs that need to be picked up by some raid member. Usually this means extra corruption that is not going to be cleared. So it'll be up to you and your raid to decide how you want to distribute this extra corruption when they die. But generally speaking, you can put it on a tank or two, or put it on some DPS if you want to do a little bit less damage to the Amalgam, or if you need that extra damage, you can put it on healers perhaps, especially if you're using 3 healers, then you can probably afford not to have everyone purified at the time. So figure out ahead of time what your plan is for these extra manifestation spawns. Finally, at 40% health or below, the Amalgam will try to find players with 75 corruption or higher. If anyone has above 75, they will spawn an extra manifestation when he uses the draw ability. So it's really important that everyone has cleared their corruption by this point into the fight and doesn't go over that 75 unless you're right at the end and you can just push them over. So once you reach 40%, 30%, something like that, you'll probably want to use Bloodlust and start burning him down along with the extra manifestation spawns. And other than that, that is the quick guide for normal Norushen against the Amalgam of Corruption. Good luck, and thanks for watching.